Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dragon Age Inquisition. As you can see, this is a Codex episode, so if you don't care, go ahead and skip it. But if you do, we're going to get right into it with characters. Man, we're getting so close to having these completed. Number 3. Oh, it's so weird when there's no sounds on these screens. I've read this before, but what was added? Okay. What follows is a history of Thomas Rainier, prepared for and delivery by Sister Leliana. Rainier was born in Markham, a city-state in the Free Marches. There was little information on his early life, but he was already a skilled warrior by the time he turned 18. Hoping to make his fortune, he joined the Grand Tourney, the great march or contest of the arms. He won the melee, proving himself and earning a substantial sum of gold. What happened to the coin Rainier won in the tourney is a mystery. 2 years later, he appeared in Orlais, no richer than at 18. Still, he leveraged his abilities and lingering fame to gain a place in the Orlesian army. Rainier excelled as a soldier, rising through the ranks quickly to become a captain with a number of men under him. Rainier's men were fiercely loyal. Our sources believe that many would have gladly defied a higher command at his word. On the surface, Rainier safeguarded his men's interests, but further investigation reveals that he was primarily concerned with his own advancement and profit. Who dick. Rainier's desire to amass a fortune likely explains his involvement in the massacre of Lord Vincent Callier and his family. Our sources tell us that Rainier was approached by a chevalier, Sir Robert Chapuis. Sir Robert supported Grand Duke Gaspard's claim to the throne and wished to enter in his good graces by eliminating Lord Callier, one of Celine's staunchest allies. Chapuis hired Rainier to assassinate Callier and offered him a great deal of coin for it. We have no reason to believe his actions were politically motivated. In the spring of 935, Lord Callier and his family were traveling to their summer home on Lake Celestine when their caravan was ambushed. It is unknown if Rainier realized that Callier would be traveling with his family. Rainier and his men slaughtered Lord Callier and his entourage. They spared not even the children, all 4 under the age of 13. Oh my god, that's so fucked up. Yeah, Blackwell might not make it through one of my other playthroughs. It seems that none of Rainier's men were aware of the true reasons behind the Lord's killing. They simply followed Rainier's orders. Rumors of Rainier's connection to the murders began swirling through the upper ranks of the army, and must have given him forewarning. He was gone when the guards came to arrest him. His men, however, were not so lucky. Almost all were charged with treason, save a few who managed to get away. Tom Rainier was labeled a traitor and a criminal, but remained at large until now. Wait. Oh. I thought that was like the only update. I was like, really? I just Air Mahonda totally read that. So Harding. I read that. Storfacker! She's the whole beast of Stone Bear Hold. All other bears in the area are mere imitations. Storvacker? How do I even begin to explain Storvacker? Storvacker is flawless. She has 2 ancient elven trees for claw sharpening and a silver honey dish. Oh my god. I hear that her claws are valued in Denerim at 10,000 sovereigns. What? I hear that she sells her shed fur to Orlesian master weavers in Vallejo. Her favorite story is Hard in Hightown. One night she met Alistair Theron, fabled warrior of the Fifth Blight, and he told her she was pretty. One time she clawed me in the face. It was amazing. From Ruminations upon the Avar and Their Customs by Reginald de Gorge. Wow, that was great. Dang, Sunhair. I know I didn't read this. This appears as if to be an unfinished letter. The handwriting is simple and the text has many phrases crossed out. Lowlanders, if you're brave enough to... Orlesians, if you're brave enough to... Merchants of Orlais, if... Those who wish to trade with Stormboy Hold, you should know me. I'm Thane's Vara Sunhair. I'm Thane's Vara Jane's daughter, known as Sunhair. Though my blade has tasted battle tears many, though my blade has tasted blood many, though I have fought many battles, I wish no conflict between us, but instead trade between our hold and yours. We have furs and leathers that put your little land's hides to shame. Plus weapons that have tasted Hakon's winter. We have furs and leathers that will make your warriors look strong and your lovers look supple, plus weapons. We have excellent furs and leathers and weapons like none have seen in the lowlands. Trade honestly and well, and there will be coin for all. Cheat us and your blood will... Wait. Trade honestly and well, and there will be coin for all. Thane's Vara Sunhair. This is a fool's task. What lowlander would come this far for furs they have not seen? Korth, I just wrote that instead of saying it. This stupid little handwriting vexes the mind. That's awesome. The rest of the letter is a series of angry sketches of axes. I love it. It's good stuff. Alright, we're done with characters. Crafting materials. Oh, we have one to read about. Philandris! We have one more to get. Who could it possibly be? The name Philandris is Elven, meaning demon weed, which is fitting for the rare plant because it grows only in places where the veil is thin. Philandris is easily identified. It's a twisted, wicked-looking shrub with long, thorny shoots and no leaves, a skeletal hand reaching out from an unmarked grave. Many swear the plant radiates a palpable aura of malevolence, so it comes as no surprise that it unnerves many, a junior herbalist. An excerpt from the Botanical Compendium by Annes Owens. Creatures. I literally have one more creature to unlock. And what could that be? I need to know. A lurker. You want to hunt lurkers? Alright, then there's a few things you should know. First, they don't live in caves. Some of the locals call them cave lurkers, but I've seen them in the wastelands, in the marshes. Really, anywhere you think creatures shouldn't be able to live. Why? Because they eat most anything and they eat rarely. When they're not hunting, they curl up in some sort of hibernation to conserve energy. If you can catch them in that state, consider yourself lucky. If not, you'll need to be on your toes. They're quiet when they want to be, you see, hence the lurk part of the name. They hunt in packs, they spit poison. In fact, I've lost more than one fellow because of a group of lurkers descended upon him while he took a piss in the bushes. They surrounded him, paralyzed him, and then tore him to pieces. All without the rest of the camp knowing a single thing was going on. Not 20 feet away, for the most dangerous things to eat. Paul Erigi Friddy. Maybe that's how you say his name? I don't know. Nightmare. We've read about the Nightmare. Pretty sure we've read about Quillbacks. Red Templar Knights. Wait a minute, okay, that's all the creatures. What have we not read in here? They said there was something I haven't read in here. Where is it? I'm looking. Well, I guess not. Okay, history. There's one. Orlesian Caprice coins. Victory in the grand game is not merely determined by what one has at one's command, one's connections, and one's machinations, but what one is willing to give up. The clearest example is the Caprice. Each coin is traditionally a gift. They were once tokens of regard, favors for chevaliers from their lovers or patrons. Throwing them into a fountain was rooted in superstition. The token was offered as a sacrifice, a bribe to Andraste to keep the chevalier safe from the battlefield. The more one had to offer to the waters, the better one's chances of escaping the caprices of fate, hence the name. For a time, the superstitious effects of the custom faded. Now the chantry is a mark of status. The more coins one has, the more public the spectacle of throwing them away. The stronger one's position in the game. From the Dowager's Field Guide to the Good Society by Lady Alcyone. Oh, I still have more to read in history. 39. Superstitions of the royal family. The Valmont family has its quirks, every family does, but the Valmonts lean particularly toward the occult. Emperor Ville mad believed in ghosts. He was certain that his mother continued to advise him after her death, and that the angry shade of his twin brother sought his downfall. He employed the services of soothsayers to convey messages from the beyond the grave and to stave off his slain brother's wrath. His son, Emperor Judicael I, had a fascination for all things ancient and arcane. It is said that his desire to reconstruct the palace of Honocharal after an elven uprising destroyed it was due more to his interest in the site itself than in politics or the game. They say he chose to spend the winter months at this family retreat because he believed the palace located at a nexus of elven magic. That spending time there would grant him longer life, as with the fabled immortal elves. In the end, the palace did not prevent his death due to heart failure. His youngest son, Prince Reynard, had a similar interest in elves in the Dales. He collected carvings of Hala, the Dalish beasts of burden, sacred to one of their false gods. The statuettes, all the work of the Dalish artisans during the Long Walk, kept in his room at the Winter Palace. His daughter ascended to the throne. She had them repurposed as keys, but why and for what, no one can know. To hide treasure. An excerpt from Architectural History of Orlais, Volume 1 by Elodie Fernand. Right? The First Blight, Chapter 4. Founded a Weishaupt fortress in the Neanderthals, the Grey Wardens offered humanity hope in its darkest hour. Veterans of decades of battles with the Darkspawn came together, and the best amongst them pledged to do whatever was necessary to stem the tide of darkness that swept across the land. These great humans, elves, and dwarves pooled their knowledge of the enemy and formed a united front to put a stop to the archdemon's rampage. And stop it they did. Ballads are still sung today of the first Grey Warden charge into the waves of Darkspawn at the city of Norgon, each warden facing 10 or 20 Darkspawn at a time. Squadrons of Grey Wardens mounted on their mighty griffins, soaring through the blackened skies and battling the terrible archdemon with spear and spell. Oh, what a sight it must have been. Incredibly, the Grey Wardens won that first battle. They raised their arms in victory, and suddenly there was hope. The Grey Wardens led the lands of men and the last stalwart defenders of the Dwarven halls against the hordes of the archdemon Dumont for the next 100 years, gaining and losing ground, but never backing away. From all over Thedas they recruited whoever possessed the skill and strength to raise the Grey Warden banner, making no distinction between elven slave or human nobleman. And finally, nearly 2 centuries after the first old gods rose from the earth, the Grey Wardens assembled the armies of men and dwarves at the Battle of Silent Fields. It was then that Dumont finally fell and the First Blight ended. The Deventer Imperium would face a new challenge with the coming of the prophet Andraste. Thoughts of the Blight grew distant. With Dumont's defeat, the Darkspawn were no longer considered a threat. But with the wisdom of hindsight, we know that conceit proved foolish indeed. The task of the Grey Wardens was far from over. For tales of the destruction of Thedas by Brother Genitivi, Chantry Skull. What else? What other knowledge is there for me? Wicked eyes and wicked hearts. The old gods will call to you. From the ancient prisons they will sing. Dragons with wicked eyes and wicked hearts. On blackened wings does deceit take flight. The first of my children, lost tonight. Canticle of Silence, 3-6. The dissonant Canticle of Silence is an alternative creation story to the versions in the Canticle of Trinities. Much of the Canticle is written from the point of view of the Maker herself as he addresses humankind, which is why it was ultimately considered a blasphemous presumption and removed from the verses of the chant. Popularly attributed to the Archon Hyserian, Silence depicts the Maker as more sorrowful at the corruption and betrayal of his children, both spirit and mortal. He mourns the fall and corruption of the old gods as his own mistake, and he urges his mortal children to turn aside from the dark path their elder siblings have led them down. Most historians agree that the Archon Hyserian had indeed likely written this canticle during the bloody Deventer Transfiguration. Literary scholars of the Imperium often cite this as one of the oldest recorded pieces of propaganda. In the 6th verse, the grieving Maker calls upon his mortal children to acknowledge that the dragon gods had manipulated and deceived them, and to throw off their corruptive influence and return to the light. As the people of Deventer rose up and slaughtered anyone remaining faithful to the old gods, this became a rallying cry of the most terrible bloodbath in the history of the Imperium. From the Chant of Light, literary analysis and history by Sister Tessarian. In your heart shall burn. Here in the gentlest verses of the chant, we see how his great gift and how his stern punishment to inspire he gave us dreams, just what we would strive to make up, this limited world reflect his word. Some look upon that nightly memory and feel only desire as though owed his splendor. We, the second children, were meant to master the wants and wanings of emotion, and childish pursuits to honor at a distance and move ever forward. We failed in this, and the weakest of us did act as petulant infants, clawing back into his sight, because we could not master our desire, because we acted on pitiful instinct, because we dared look upon our Maker to fulfill our need, and not his. He has lost us, but he is merciful and while stern. We remember what we have lost. His second children can learn, grow, and change. If we cannot, then we are no better and no worse than his first children. From the word and challenge of the chant by revered Mother Havara. Alright, here lies the abyss, the well of all souls. From these emerald waters doth life begin anew. Come to me, child, and I shall embrace you. In my arms lies eternity. Canticle of Andraste. Chantry sisters have long debated this section of the Chant of Light. It is tempting to assume that the Well of All Souls is a literal well, but much such imagery appears nowhere in Andraste's other works. An examination of Trinities 1:4 yields clues. From the waters of the Fade you made the world as the Fade had been fluid, so is the world fix. It is possible, even likely, that the emerald waters Andraste refers to are the substance of the Fade, which began as an ocean of dreams, Trinities 1:1, and was reduced to a well, bottomless but limited in scope by the Maker's creation of our world. Is Andraste urging the listener to come to the Fade? Should we take from these emerald waters doth life begin anew as a literal evidence of reincarnation, or even a life after death, as the cult of spirits suggests? Or as figurative benediction indicating that the Maker is the source of all life, and in finding his embrace for eternity will we only be returning our souls from whence they came? An excerpt from Reflections on Divinity by revered Mother Julia. Letters and notes. Oh god, I bet I have a million of these. Different Darkspawn. The journal penned by an unknown writer appears to be quite old, with many of its pages damaged by water and dust. The entries that can be read all appear to be about 20 years old. We found him up alive in the passage. Still can't believe it. The only reason I didn't stop digging is because he had the key to the cache. But after 2 weeks, I was expecting to find it on his corpse. What story does he come up with? That he was found by a Darkspawn, of all things. A talking Darkspawn, polite as you please, who fed him and gave him water and evidently chatted with him about surfacers. I don't know what Amok is thinking, coming up with a story like that, but he swore by the stone it was all the truth. Crazy as it sounds, I know Amok. He's got the imagination of an old hammer. Why would he make something like that up? Reminds me of a story my grandsire used to tell about something his grandsire did. He said once he came upon 3 Darkspawn in the deeper roads, each twice the size of any dwarf, bigger than humans even, and dressed up like kings. He watched from the shadows as they talked like people about things he couldn't understand. The city gone black, and they blamed each other for things that but could barely remember for what. My mam was like that. Never remember the slight, just that she was angry. Story goes they attacked each other, and one ran off while the second choked the third to death and then ate him. Oh my god. Don't know about Darkspawn having talking kings, never mind polite ones that give you food and tea, but maybe Amok met one of them. Strange things in the deeper roads, after all, things that Shapers can't even recall, as if smuggling wasn't dangerous enough. Right on. A letter from the hero for all that, oh my god! To her worship Inquisitor Llewellyn. Oh my god. I wish that I had helpful information regarding Corypheus, but due to my own limited training during the Blight, I know less of ancient Darkspawn lore than do most Wardens. I'm engaged in a search of my own. All Grave Wardens who did not fall in the battle eventually fall to something known as the Calling, the magic that preys upon our own connection to the Blight and Darkspawn. Rather than such foul magic eventually leading to my death, I have determined to find a way to negate this calling and save all Wardens from its effects. Oh my god, that's awesome. As I have little useful information to offer, please accept the accompanying gifts instead. If in my quest I can find anything that may be of use to you in your fight against Corypheus, I will send it to you immediately. Part of me wishes that I could help your Inquisition more personally because the danger of Corypheus and the breach approaches, the threat of even another Blight. Regardless, I have my own path to follow, and I must uncover a cure for the Calling if I wish to see my king ever again. I beg you, keep his kingdom safe until I can return to his side. Yeah! Yours, Warden Commander Kuzlint of Ferelden. Yeah! Yeah! Awesome. Alright, where's a new thing to read, man? Where's a new thing to... I don't think we have anything else to read. Nope. Magic. Number 3. Alluvions. Let me tell you something. There are mirrors, old mirrors from the ancient times when our people ruled every part of this land. Only they're not really mirrors, they're alluvions. You find some dusty old scholar, he's going to tell you our people used alluvions to talk to each other. Don't believe it. They're portals, you walk into one and eventually you come out the other side. Or at least this is what I'm told. You ever wonder what they've never found any elven roads, like our ancestors never walked anywhere? That's why. They used alluvions. There are still alluvions in the old places today. Some of them even work, and Brialla knows where they are. If we can get our hands on them, why does Brialla know this? We'll have an advantage that no human could ever hope to counter. The ability to move across half of Thetis in a heartbeat. That is pretty fucking awesome. From a letter discovered in the ashes of building in the first shield in the Alien Witch 940 Dragon. Damn. Aquilara. A skull set upon a staff. These macabre artifacts cause magical shards in the area to glow with magical radiance whenever a viewer looks through the eyes of the skull. Alexius was quite clear in his orders. We must scour the countryside to find more of the shards. Without them, the Venatori cannot claim the treasure our master seeks. For that, we need the Aquilara. Without them, the shards are nearly impossible to find, even if they are no longer cloaked by whatever magic hid them for all these centuries. There must be more tranquil in the area. The rebels abandoned most of them when they filled their circles. Remember, the skull will only attune properly if the tranquil is in close proximity to one of the shards. If the demon is forced to possess him, even then, the blow must be delivered immediately. The Aquilara produced from the tranquil killed, even minutes later, failed to illuminate the shards when used. I trust you to continue your efforts in this matter. Our master expects success. A letter found in an abandoned house in Redcliffe Village. 8. Alright. Spirit of Wisdom. When the summoning ritual was complete, the spirit appeared. Both spirits and demons have no gender as we understand it, but this one, much like the rare and dangerous Desire Demon, presented as female. Although its form was not threatening, the spirit carried itself with confidence. and awareness, I suppose, that I have only seen in the most powerful of demons. The spirit of wisdom was polite and courteous, and answered our questions about the Fade, even acknowledging the difficulty when we could not understand what it meant. There was none of the bargaining one normally associates with the summoned creature, save that the spirit sometimes asked us questions as well. Kara shared a mathematical formula he had recently proven, while Latrine explained her study on magical themes in the Chant of Light, and young Reese talked about his mother. A little about his mother. Why did I say his little mother? We finished. The spirit thanked us for the conversation and then vanished. Although none of us had dismissed it, we soon discovered that the summoning ritual we had devised was critically flawed. The spirit had been under no compulsion to come or remain. All the time it had talked with us, it had stayed of its own volition. Harris was greatly concerned that such a powerful spirit remained free, and has updated the ritual to correct the weakness in the binding enchantment. I understand his caution, but I'll confess that I quite enjoyed the conversation. I am not certain that spirit would have talked so freely had it been shackled at the time. An excerpt from The Spirits of the Spire by Senior Enchanter Francois. The Rite of Tranquility. We called it the Rite of Tranquility, a mind branded with lyrium, brought to the state of devoid of either emotion or sense of self. The rite was required to achieve the true peace that could draw the spirit of faith from the depths of the Fade. A difficult task, considering a tranquil mind is all but invisible to these beings. The candidate must be pure. If the candidate proved worthy, the spirit would touch his mind, and he would be freed from tranquility, as well made into a seeker of truth. If he proved unworthy, tranquility was permanent. It was only later, that when the first mage attempted to rejoin our order and failed, that we learned tranquility rendered a mage unable to access his magic, as well as immune to demonic possession. Thus, when the Circle of Magi was born, we gave them the most holy rite we possessed. It was a sacrifice we made for the good of all, so dangerous mages could be spared execution, and yet live productive and harmonious lives. What we did not give them was the secret of its reversal. That knowledge and our ancient bond with the spirits of faith shall forever be solely ours to keep. An excerpt from Cassandra's tome on the Seekers of Truth. Well, she's changing that. Places. Adamant Fortress. Of all the decisions we Grey Wardens were forced to make over the Lean nearest, withdrawing from the Fortress of Adamant was perhaps the most difficult. It has been built as a bastion against Darkspawn spilling out from the Abyssal Rift, a symbol of how he had done the impossible, pushing those creatures back into the shadows where they belonged. We kept the land safe from further encroachment, but as each new age dawned, memories of our sacrifice became fainter. The entire western approach had become a wasteland, and thus the expense of maintaining the fortress became increasingly difficult to justify. There were no griffins to fill its weirs, too few wardens to man its battlements, too many good men and women killed by demons creeping through the thinning veil. Each visit of the Warden Commander made it more apparent that Adamant had become a symbol of our decline. Even if the Darkspawn still emerged from the chasm, who would they threaten other than the Wardens themselves? So in the dawn of the Blessed Age, we sealed the fortress's mighty gates. We left the great griffin statues to tarnish in the blowing sand, retreating to Monsamar with a sense of loss and shame. I returned recently with a small expedition to retrieve supplies, surprised to see it still standing. The dwarves did well by us. I suspect Adamant will remain for ages to come. But should the Order ever return, they will find it difficult to resurrect. Only spirits roam its halls now, alongside the memories of those who gave their lives to protect us all from darkness. From the Journal of Eldon, Grey Warden of Orlais, 858 Blessed. Antiva. The rest of the civilized world, it is common belief that Antiva has no king. I assure you, gentle readers, this is untrue. The line of kings in Antiva has remained unbroken for 2,500 years. It is simply that nobody pays attention to them whatsoever. In truth, the nation is ruled by a collection of merchant princes. They are not princes in the literal sense, but heads of banks, trading companies, and vineyards. Their power is conferred strictly by wealth. But Antiva is not primarily renowned for its peculiar form of government, nor for its admittedly unparalleled wines. Antiva is known for the House of Crows. Since Antivans are well known for being good at everything but fighting, it is more than a little ironic that Antiva possesses the most deadly assassins in the world. Their fame is such that Antiva keeps no standing army. No king is willing to order his troops to assault her borders. No general is mad enough to lead such an invasion. The attack would likely succeed, but its leaders would not see the day. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Jim TV. Care Oswald. I worry about Lauren daily, ever since the death of his wife and son, and however on the onset of the blight. Wait a minute, this sounds really familiar. He retreats further and further into reclusion. Almost no one is permitted to come to Kaer Oswin. The last time I managed to see him, it was only because I bullied my way into the castle and insisted the strange new guards take me to him. And I say strange new guards for a reason. Almost all the Oswin retainers have been sent away. These men didn't wear Ban Loren's colors, and they struck me as more prison wardens than protectors. Loren himself was pale and almost delirious. I begged him to see a physic, as he promised he would, but I doubt he ever did. The guards ushered me out in a hurry, and the last time I returned I was not even allowed past the gate. It has been months since anyone saw Loren at all. I fear the worst has happened, yet I can prove nothing. All I can do is pray the rest of the bandworm take notice and act before good man is lost. From a letter by Banov Stana, Aramon, Dragon Mindboard. Codexes. On the edge of the Empire, they erected a prison, Codexes, the Dark Pit. Far removed from the cultural heart of the Imperium, Codexes held and meted out punishment to local peoples who denied Demeter's claims to the region, the so-called loyal citizens who believed living on the fringes of civilization would grant them immunity from the Imperium's laws. In a few cases, political prisoners who could not be sentenced with execution were sent to Codexes instead. It was widely known that bribes brought nothing there, and having the right name would not be rewarded with leniency. It is said that upon hearing their judgments, these individuals begged for death. From A Brief History of the Imperium, Volume 3 by Tiris Altim. Crestwood. Crestwood is a small village of no real consequence to the lords and ladies who ride through on their way to Valrail or Denerim. These people are glad for visitors, however. Residents tend livestock and grow whatever crops they can, but their chief income comes from trade. I was dining alone at the local inn, which is quaintly perched on the top of a dam, when I overheard the barman mention tunnels beneath the village. I was surprised to learn that a vast cave system riddles the land surrounding Crestwood. The locals told me tales of strange noises and eerie lights, of entire expeditions swallowed by the underground fissures, of screams in the dark that come from nowhere, and return just as swiftly to nothing. I scoffed, then went for a stroll around the area. The night was clear, and I was winding down a pleasant glade in the hills when I heard the rasping hiss. Dropped my walking staff, I spied an overgrown opening to a small cavern. Were those footsteps padding away into the dark I heard, or a startled animal? That night, I let the candle in my room burn longer than usual. From the Diary of a Traveler from Valshevin, dated 3 months before the start of the 5th Blade. 3-Trap Pond hides a sinkhole hundreds of yards deep. Darkspawn emerged from this and other caves to attack Crestwood during the Blight. The flood that destroyed old Crestwood drowned the blighted ones, and the excess water created the pond that we see today. Had the dam not been damaged, we would never have survived the Darkspawn. With the Maker's hand in this, I cannot believe he would be so purposely cruel to his children, flawed though we are. It's the memoirs of Sister Vaughn of Crestwood. In Priest de Lyon. The ancient name of these craggy highlands has long been lost to time. When the first Valmont Emperor was crowned in the Exalted Age, the mountains were renamed Emprise de Lyon to honor the House of Valmont, which bears a lion upon its crest. Wandering through these remote hills, I discovered remnants of a forgotten past, mingled delightfully with signs of the present. Charming villages dotted the landscape, and scattered among them relics of the lost elven nation. Young women sold wild berries at a market nestled in the shadow of a sinister crumbling fortress, which may have once been the seat of a daily lord. Children played the fields, washed over by the silent statues of gods whose names they did not know. I walked quiet lanes bordered with wildflowers, the higher arches of an elven ancient bridge soaring above me, majestic even in their ruin. Sadly, my time in the mountains was short, and I soon continued on to Limitral. I found myself thinking back on Emprise de Lyon, however, and how gracefully she bore the passing of ages. I wondered what the future held and dreamed of how it might leave its mark. Whatever comes can only add to her beauty, delicate lines on the face of a gentle woman, which speak of a life well lived. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genitive. Next, Prospect Basin. Halvor often arrives around winter's end, but given the recent weather, I looked for him, which is why his voice across the market took me by surprise. Lowlander, I was owed a drink on my next visit, and supper unless you were getting out of your wager. Maybe I was trying to get out of that bet, but I happily paid the bill at the inn that night. Asked Halvor where he last traveled, and he said he'd been trading with an Avar hold in Frostback Basin. Then he raised an eyebrow at the look on my face, so I described the stories Uncle told us as children, when brave expeditions get lost in places like the Western Approach, Nazi Marches, Frostback Basin. He laughed and admitted it could be a cruel place. He described the thick forest, greater than any I've seen, I'm certain, in darkened swamps. His rule for traveling there must seem to boil down to be wary and alert, as everything can kill you. The wildlife is violent, the cliffs are steep, and you must be mindful of the gods' wishes, here meaning the Avar gods. Of course, the hunting's good, the trade's fair, and the Avar hold is impressive. But do people really disappear in the forest, I asked? Few lowlanders come through. Not sure how many leave after. The last was a joke, but I won't be visiting that hold anytime soon. Letter from a Ferelden merchant to a cousin in High Avar. Halam Shral. After the glorious reclamation of the Dales, the elven capital lay empty and in ruins for years, a haven for bandits and highwaymen of all manners of miscreants. The land lay unused until the exalted age when Alphonse Valmont, the very lion himself, declared that place should be built there in honor of the valiant actions of his brothers in besting the armies of false Emperor Xavier Draken. Originally called Chateau Lyon, whatever. It was designed as a grand retreat for the Emperor's brothers and their families. The city of Halam Sharal grew around the palace. The first records of its existence appear in the Storm Age, when Emperor Cyril granted the title of Marquis to Sir Reginald Montclair for the administration of Halam Sharal. An elven uprising destroyed Chateau Lyon in the Blessed Age. When Emperor Judicael I rebuilt it, he named the new retreat the Winter Palace. It was designed more for the Emperor and his immediate family than for any cadet branches of House Mormont, and became the heart of the imperial court in the darkest months of winter. The excerpt from an Architectural History of Orlais, Volume 1 by Elodie Ferney. 22. Redcliffe. King Calenhad therein once famously declared, "The fate of Redcliffe is the fate of all Ferelden." Certainly, the castle is the first and last defense for the sole land route into Ferelden, and the country has never fallen to any force that did not try first to capture Redcliffe. The castle, which, despite being 3 times captured, is popularly described as unassailable. Also, guards of one of the largest and most prosperous towns in Ferelden. Redcliffe village is well situated near the mountain pass to Orzammar and the Orlesian border, and serves so as a centre of foreign trade. For these reasons, Redcliffe is accounted as an Arling despite the smallness of the domain. The inhabitants of Redcliffe village are primarily fishermen or merchants who ship dwarven goods through the pass from Orlais to Denerim. When the entire village smells of smoked fish on certain late autumn mornings, the merchants in their finery do their utmost to pretend otherwise. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, the Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Janet T.V.A. The events of the Ferelden Civil War left Redcliffe in tatters, and its reconstruction has been a slow process. The city has made a remarkable recovery after its ordeal at the hands of young Lord Connor Warren, whatever. At the Battle of Denerim, Arl Eamon gave the Arling order to his younger brother in the order to devote his full attention to advising the throne. He left the new Arl Tegan with the monumental task of rebuilding the town and perhaps the even greater challenge of dealing with the influx of mages into the area following the breaking of the circles. From the Changing Face of Thetis by Sister Katrine, Chantry Scholar. Oh, I didn't read this one. Skyhold, on Skyhold. Page from an enchantress journal, scorched to near illegibility. The style is an old Ferelden dialect, circa mid to late Divine Ages. Experiments in ambient lingering's first staging. The question isn't, is it special? The question is, how special? We found relics, but there are always relics. Elves ranged far before their empire was crushed, but rarely did they return where they did not build. This place they visited again and again. I see it in the fragments, clays from different nations, not just craftsmen, styles from different centuries, not just clans, and yet no record of a ruin. The structures here are all Ferelden, with stone varied up by a typical madman. Whatever was here, whatever natural spire it was flattened up for a floor. But I know the common shapes, and I will erect them as was custom. And we shall see what the elves wish to see. The note below is a different, uneducated hand. I finished this for Master Gano. His workings brought lightning, much lightning. The rods are pools of metal now, and all his workings burned. Master was also struck. I write for him his last words, because his fingers are ash, and he did not live the night. The veil is old here. Wow. Skyhold has not just been claimed time and time again, but sacked as well. We've managed to uncover some remnants, including a scratching under a pillar that mentions the name given by a witch. Old, but still long after the palace has been built over, but the author knew something of its first purpose, or at least something of legend. Varlandivalis him Salbelinaris son Elgar. Melanda him Samiris Finatalvin. Word missing? Natasolin Telerivas Nusali Telsen Safenora. Tarsalon Telas Finir Adelathavir. Word missing. Okay. That was a lot of Elven. Even with assistance from your elf, we managed only a partial translation. Elven is often a game of intents, not a direct mapping of phonetic meaning. That means it's a mess. Our belief transformed into everything. Assertion, problem, uncertain. All time is transformed into the final, or first death, uncertain. Inevitable, threatened victory, and horrible promised freedom in the untorn veils, uncertain. Where the sky is held up or back. Where the people give or gain love, that is an apology or promise. Fortitude, missing subject, uncertain. Mostly complete, as fragments go, the rhythm is strange, not like others I've recorded, perhaps less a poem than a statement. The Elven language does tend to meander. Notes from the Archivist. Possible references to Skyhold in the readings of the Great Library of Valrail. What follows are the names of the powers that may have held a fortress in the region. Unfortunately, time and records are such that for many the name is all that is known, and some of those are merely as reference in other works. The fortress is a vagabond, but years will do that to Stonewall Maid. The Tan Empire, passing mention of an unseen trinity partner, occupied where hold the sky, and Verdani ballad Kintam of Knoll, thought fictional, date uncertain. The Father of Rest, and the Ferelden built upon the sky, mentioned as a possible destination of the spirit of the dead man, the Ferelden ultimately dated to the Exalted Age. Lady Vander, she, Ferelden highwayman banished in 483 Black, thought to use a palace, a place in the clouds as a refuge. Spire, Orlesian Taver's song, mentioning Skyhold by name as a fanciful utopia, but also claiming nugs with wings and a dragon that blows bubbles. Tyr Oranvi, possible etching of a major Skyhold feature, but no context available. Unknown language. The title has never been translated. Pre-glory, maybe. Treventer carving. A broken belief that matches the outline of the main gate, but all possible scholarship suggests that a structure outside of Minrath is pre-divine. Possible shared inspiration, but it is not known in what direction. Study continues. We will apprise you of any other references of your worth. From the office of Lord Gippin, Archivist of the University of Orlais, Valrail. Inquisitor, your archivist has asked me how I came to know the name and location of Skyhold. To the latter, I may speak easily. When one walks in the Fade, any fortress that has been seen battle enough shines as a beacon for spirits drawn to death and struggle, even after centuries of disuse. As to the former, I myself cannot say for certain. The whispers of old memories carry 1,000 such names upon their breath, and it is possible that this name belonged to some other in the keep of some other land. Still, it seems an auspicious name, for there is one peculiarity of language that your scholars seem to have missed. When the words reached my dreaming mind, Skyhold was not simply a fortress near the sky, nor was it some simplistic allusion to the holding up the sky. Skyhold, Baral Salon Talas, was the place where the sky was held back. Given your efforts against the breach and our battle against a madman who seeks only to exalt the Black City in the Fade, I can only hope that the Inquisition's new stronghold lives up to its name. Solus! Good on you. The city-state of Kirkwall. From the Office of Provisional Viscount Bran of Kirkwall, please circulate to all functionaries, swap in the names of our newest benefactors, and let us be done with their endless attempts at cleverly veiled intentions. The forces and or diplomatic representatives of copy their names and notes on our affixed here. Thank you for your kind offer of tiresome insistence, but I assure you that we are quite inundated with similar inquiries at the moment. It falls to me, as Provisional Viscount, to draw your ire, and for that I sincerely apologize. I assure you that I do not wish this to be the case, neither the refusal nor my place in the delivery of it. Perhaps you will join the chorus of those questioning whether I possess the authority to deny you. Rest assured, when arrows are still in the air, it is common for those who desire stability, but who lack the will to fight for it, to impose the opportunity onto others deemed expendable. And as I was one of the few remaining who knew the relevant protocol representing freed Kirkwall, it apparently falls to me. Or rather, the role left open, I was pushed in by the unpopular vote. And in either case, there is falling, but the precedent is well tested. I expect the previous in no way will deter you from continuing your aggressive inquiries.
Kirkwall has always been a valuable port, the nexus of nearly all trade that flows between the Free Marches and Ferelden. It has changed hands many times before, and I expect, posturing leader's name, would see it do so again. On this point, I would urge caution, for a number of factors have deviated from the historical norm. While the office of Viscount has been vacant since the unfortunate end of the Dumar line, we have not been out without effective leadership. Jesus. The role of the champion stabilizing Kirkwall cannot be minimized, despite the actions that have been more widely circulated. No doubt your leaders heard this is where the ripples of the rebellion began. That is true, and violently so, which makes any stability we have earned preciously guarded. As those ripples travel outward, our champion and others have committed to the continued calm of the center. As such, we are eager to resume commerce, and will entertain any and all promises of trade. I do assure you, offers of protection and the extension of foreign borders or troops are not necessary. But I am nothing if not a realist. If your inquiry was made with genuine intent, then this appeal should suffice to end the matter graciously. If, however, your offer was mere formality before attempting a disguised occupation, I'll refer you first to the examples of cite the two most recent fools who would not listen, who made similar assumptions that we would be a desperate target. I would then direct you to the person who ensured that the forces of those same two idiots were summarily expelled in various states of dismemberment, because, deluded by new interloper, despite the fact that my underwhelming name carries the provisional Viscount honorific, Captain of the Guard Aveline Hendier, that's her name? That's Stonic's last name, has spontaneously and effectively assumed matters of defense. While we were temporarily without such guidance, he ensured... She's not Aveline Bellin anymore. She assured that the guard... whatever. We're well prepared, and I have welcomed her return. Her activation of the Kirkwall militia has been spirited and fearless, two things I do not care to be known for, so I stay out of her way. For the sake of your health, I advise that you do the same. In great respect to you, newest invading crowd. Prick! Provisional Viscount Bran. Man, Bran's a good dude. The Cradle of Sullivan. The Sullivan blade, a sword with purpose. When our people ruled the Dales, the blade's purpose was to defend our borders. When the Chantry marched against us, its purpose was to protect the innocent from those who would oppress us. More than one great hand wielded it in battle, yet few know its name. Fewer still will speak of it. The exalted march stretched on, and the Chantry's forces were nearing victory. A band of elves could not bear the losses. Desperation drove them to take the Sullivan blade. A wish for vengeance gave the sword a new purpose. If the Chantry thinks us monsters, they thought, then who are we to argue? They spilled innocent blood to power their magic. With it they would defeat their enemies. Only the ritual failed. They all stood in the darkness, blood on their fingers, bodies at their feet. Then they heard the sound of footsteps. The elves' wish for vengeance was granted to those that they had slaughtered. Spirits reached beyond the veil and claimed the elves where they stood. As for the Sullivan blade, the sword lies broken in the accursed place where the elves attempted their ritual. Perhaps one day it will be reforged and given a new purpose, but at what cost? The location was lost long ago. Those who seek the sword never return. Some say they are claimed by the same spirits who were angered so long ago. As much as we long for our past, there are some memories better left buried. Story recited by Neria, first to Keeper Elindra of Clan Ralafarin, to Matthias Laren, Inquisition Scribe. The Emerald Graves. Our people call this place the Emerald Graves. Long ago, before the fall of the Dales, a tree was planted for every warrior who pledged themselves to the guardianship of the Dales. Together these warriors were the Emerald Knights of Lemsharol, and the forest of their trees was named the Emerald March. When the humans began encroaching once again on our borders, the Emerald Knights banded together to protect us from the incursion. But the humans were many, and the Chantry were powerful, and they eventually conquered the Dales. The Knights fought in defense of our land, and almost all perished. The trees that once represented the mighty army were now living symbols of sacrifice, the Emerald Graves. I hear that the most humans on Orlais do not call this place by its true name. They find it an inauspicious one, and refer to the forest only as the Great Wood. They refuse to see anything but wood and moss and leaves, and hope to remain ignorant of the blood that was spilled. But we of the people remember, feel the weight of what was lost, and we see not trees but lives given for freedom, as told by Keeper Gisherel of the Ralafarin clan. Love. I've never read about it. The Still Ruins, 24 Harvestmere. A pair of hunters arrived today from the western approach. They carried a third between them, unconscious. The hunters found the man wandering the approach.
He collapsed at their feet before he could learn his identity. The rough stories you hear, I'm surprised they didn't slit his throat and call it mercy. Instead, they laid him alongside their prizes and took him from that place. Cerise forced him to swallow water with a mixture of herbs. Elaine says he will show how to make it tomorrow. 26 Harvestmere. Cerise and Elaine left the patient to my care. They believe the man will die, so what harm could I do? Still, I prepare the herbs with care. I do what I can to make him comfortable. The man murmurs in his sleep, something about there being no wind. I open the window, but the air is chill and I fear it would weaken it. 5 first fall, my patient opened his eyes. Vargas took the rest, then I found it. Everything seemed so still, there was no wind. He seemed quite content. The Western approach, I asked? Oh, soldier. This last about the figurine I placed on the bedside. Table for Saturnalia. Foolish, but I thought it might cheer him. 8 first fall, my patient took a simple meal. Speaking wearies him, but he tried. Everything was so still, there was no wind. I told him that sounded peaceful. His eyes widened in fear, but demons were still there. I tried to comfort him. He was desperate to explain the disturbing images in his mind. Later I saw him staring at the little soldier. They couldn't move, he murmured. I said I could take the toy away, but he shook his head. 20th of first fall. Cerise and Elaine declared my patient well enough to travel. He left before I returned from my visiting sister. I expect the still ruins were a delusion brought on by his trials and the approach, but I will never know. I wish I could have said goodbye. Cerise says he took the soldier with him. Perhaps it was a comfort, after all. From the Journal of Nicolette Enverse, Helio's Apprentice. The Western Approach. Once these wastes were a land of plenty. Can you believe it? The rain came north over the Gemadrin peaks, turning the plains green and verdant for 3 months of the year, 800 years ago. That changed. During the second blight, darkspawn spilled out of an enormous crack in the earth, corrupting it with their foul blood. It never recovered. Even after they were driven back underground, the Grey Wardens built adamant fortress to stand watch over that chasm. But eventually, even they abandoned it to the wind and the biting sand. What few of us eke out a living in this make-forsaken place do so knowing that any number of deaths await us. Darkspawn raids, dragons, bandits, not to mention starvation from the lack of water and game. If we stay, it is because we know there are treasures buried in the bones of this place, wounds from the time when Tevinter ruled and even earlier. We pass tales around our campfires of the things we have seen, shrouded in the dust storms. My favorites are the ones about relics that could restore the Western Approach once more, but I don't believe them. Truth be told, on nights when the wind is calm, I can stand on a hilltop and see for miles in the moonlight over a stark beauty of which no other Elysian can claim to know the evening. On those nights, I hope it will never change. In the Lands of the Abyss by Magistrate Gilles de Saint Christ. 4. Tales. This is the ones that are long. O Grey Warden. O Grey Warden, what have you done? The oath you have taken is all but broken. All is undone. Demons have come to destroy this peace we have had so long. Ally or foe, Maker only knows. Ally or foe, the Maker only knows. The stronghold lives on, and the armies reborn, compelled to forge on what will become. Can you be forgiven when the cold grave has come? Or will you have won, or will the battle rage on? O Grey Warden, what have you done? The oath you have taken is all but broken. All is undone. Ash in the sun, cast into darkness, the light we had won. That's performed by the Bar and Meriden Halewell. A ghoulish delight. My dearest Regine, surely you must have heard the Pagets' failing fortunes. They've lost almost everything. The Lord made some bad decisions and trusted people he shouldn't. All that is left is La Maison Verte in the Dales. They have to sell it and move to the city. I was called upon to find someone willing to buy the house. You would be so proud of me. I surpassed all the Lord's expectations. I looked into La Maison's history first. Do you know it was built in the time of the elves? It was a sanctuary dedicated to Andril, goddess of the forest. The house was built around the ruins. The heart of the shrine was etched a stone altar, now in the grand hall. It is quite spectacular. Any noble in Valerial would be envious of something with such historical significance. I planned a party to show off the house and its elven altar. We had it decorated with white flowers and candles. Even brought in some hearts to graze in the garden outside. The effect was stunning. Then my stroke of genius. Remember when Lady Karine's pastime was reading about elves and how sympathetic she was to what happened in the Dales? She couldn't stop talking about how we must make contact with the restless elven spirits. All her lady companions were so taken with the idea. Well, I did just that. Or I made the guests believe that's what happened. I had to hire a mate to help, of course, a very discreet fellow from Monsimard. During the party, I talked about how the house was haunted for sad elven spirits. They ate it all up. Romantic, they said. For the final touch, I had everyone join hands around the elven stone and pray.
And the mage, no names, cast a spell that made us dance like little puppets on strings and sing the little bluebird of summer. It was a triumph. Other offers began pouring in. One of them was even from a representative of the Grand Justice Florian. Oh, I have so much to tell you. I can't wait to return. With great love, Ignatius. Someone got played. Someone got played. Someone got played. Damn. Is there nothing else that I can read? Maybe not. No, looks like there isn't. Oh my. Well, that's gonna do it for this Codex episode then, guys. Thank you so much for listening. See you in the next one.